Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today. I'm just going to wait a couple minutes just for everyone to come into the webinar who wants to join us, and then we'll get started. So while we're waiting, I'd love to know, where's everyone coming in from? If you can just put your practice area and your city or state into the chat. I'm coming from Toronto, and I'm one of the Clio team members. Lindsay, where are you coming in from?
I'm in Madison, Wisconsin.
Madison, Wisconsin. Adam, how about you?
I'm just a little south of her, in Janesville, Wisconsin. So about 20 minutes north of the border of Illinois.
Very nice, very nice. Some people from Atlanta, Michigan, another Torontonian. So I'm just gonna wait another minute or so. Hi, Savannah from Missouri. Jenny from Panama City. Vanessa, sorry, Harriet, Clint. Welcome, everybody. Let's wait another like 10-15 seconds, and we'll get started with the webinar. All right. Okay, I think we'll get started now. All right, so welcome everybody to the Demystifying Digital Advertising for Law Firms. We have a jam-packed webinar to give you some really good foundational knowledge on different digital advertising strategies and ad types that you can use. Before we get started, I'm just going to walk through some housekeeping items. So this webinar will be 45 minutes, ending promptly around 2:45 EST. If you missed anything while presenting, do not worry. We will be sending out the recording to everybody tomorrow afternoon. You can use the chat box to engage with your fellow meetup attendees by selecting the everyone option in the dropdown. If you don't select everyone though, you're just going to be messaging me and my fellow panelists. And as much as we love you, we won't be able to answer you during the webinar. So like I said, if you have any questions, please, for your fellow attendees, in the chat box. If you do have questions for our panelists, we will have a Q&A section about 15 minutes at the end. So what you can do is actually put that into the Q&A section of Zoom, which is just shown here. So I'm Liz Hudson. I'm a manager of customer marketing here at Clio. My whole role involves just introducing customers to new features, new products, making sure they're getting the most value out of Clio. And I love my job. I also love doing webinars like this, getting to teach them about new things to hopefully help their firm. I'm going to pass it off to Dimitra.
Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. My name is Demystifying. I'm a digital growth manager here in the product department at Clio. Essentially, I look at different ad products and I see which ones are performant for the legal industry, and then look how we can integrate it for our customers.
Love it. And we'll pass it on to Adam.
Hey, everybody. I am the National Marketing Strategist at Above the Bar Marketing. I've been helping attorneys across the nation with their marketing for the past 10 years and 15 years of digital marketing experience. Everything from pay-per-click to directories, to websites, to search engine optimization, content marketing, social media, you name it. I have my hands in it and I love doing it. What gets me up in the morning.
Love it. And we'll pass it over to Lindsay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lindsay Marty. I'm the owner and founder of Above the Bar Marketing. I've also been doing legal marketing for a little over a decade. My company specializes in law firm marketing, website design, SEO, lead gen, all of that good stuff, specifically for law firms. And so that's why we were invited to speak here today. So if you want to move to the next slide, I'll just kind of go through the agenda of everything that we're going to go through. Again, this is a really jam-packed agenda, so please feel free to put questions in the chat, and we'll try to get to everybody's questions as we go. But we're going to go through building your online presence with lead generation and the main mechanisms to do so. We'll take a deeper dive into local service ads, how to set them up, how to optimize them for success, and how to manage them through Clio Grow. And then we will also discuss how to evaluate your advertising spend and tracking the return on investment. So we included this kind of fun statistic to start things off. 76% of US consumers are finding legal services online. This is a pretty powerful statistic and really proves that, more than ever, it's important to kind of manage your online presence and kind of learn what you should and shouldn't be doing to grow your presence online. So back to the building your online presence. So at Above the Bar, we really take a strategic approach to lead generation for law firms, and we silo it into 3 main buckets. There's traditional advertising on billboards and magazines and things of that nature. But in terms of digital, we split it into 3 buckets: legal directories, PPC, pay-per-click, Google Ads, it's all the same thing, and then local service ads. So I'm going to just kind of dive into legal directories right away. And so I kind of listed the main legal directories that we see out there. There are more. The experience that Adam and myself have, we worked for a large national legal directory. They're listed up here. And so we have a lot of experience with the power of directories for lead generation and what they can do for your firm, and how you can show up well for search in this area. And it's important to take a step back when discussing legal directories and discuss kind of the difference between them. There are legal directories like Avo and Super Lawyers that market the attorney only and not the firm, whereas Fine Law and Expertise, that markets the firm as a whole. There's also built into legal directories awards that you can win, get a 10.0 rating or super lawyer status, things of that nature. There are paid options and unpaid, options that are free. And the paid options typically come in like a featured top spot or a featured listing in these directories that you do pay for to be at the top. The profiles themselves, you can claim a lot of the free profiles in these. And we always recommend that is something that our clients do, whether they're going to pay for it or not, because the power of these directories in search is pretty powerful. If you search for an attorney who has claimed and optimized all of his or her profiles, those will show up when a referral searches your name and lands on your search results. So it's really important to keep those up to date. And then in terms of which ones do I invest in? That I always just recommend do some searching, see what shows up well in your area. And that's also why claiming them is important, because you don't know which one is going to show up in which spot. And if you want to go to the next slide, I'll kind of show you how they do show up in search. So the screenshot on the left is just a basic search for personal injury attorney in Madison, Wisconsin, say. And at the top, you'll see, typically the local service ads. Right underneath that, you'll see a couple sponsored Google ad, PPC ads. Then there's the big map, and anything underneath there is typically what we call organic search results in the industry. That's where the legal directories are really powerful, because they have thousands and thousands of pages of content that make them really powerful in search. And when you have a profile with one of these premium publishers, they're called, that gives search engines a lot of authority. It gives your website and your reputation a lot of authority with the search engines. So just to go to the next slide, there's kind of three ways that legal directories are super powerful. One I just mentioned, search engine optimization. Reputation management, again, when a referral searches you directly, to have all of that claimed, optimized with updated information on awards, different cases that you worked on, things of that nature. Reviews are typically built into all of the directories. That is another way that they're super important. And then of course, lead generation. It's kind of like a light switch. You turn these on and you should start receiving calls in your practice area and your geo. I'm going to hand it over to Adam to talk to you about PPC.
Thank you. Can you turn my video back on? Please. I want to show my pretty face and not my silly Chewbacca icon. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lindsay, for talking to us about and telling us about directories. As she covered, there's quite a few reasons why you want to be in directories, but I'm going to talk about Google ads because there's quite a few things that fall into those Google search ads. PPC, so let's start with understanding what PPC stands for, which is pay-per-click. It really is a model of internet marketing where the advertiser, you, if you're advertising, you're going to pay for each time that your ad is clicked on. So not for when it's shown or an impression, but when it's clicked on. So you're basically buying visits to your website as opposed to earning them organically. As we saw in that search result page, when you do a search for anything on Google, you're going to get a list of different options. And Google, no surprise, wants to make money. And a big portion of where they make that money comes from is from these ads. So it takes up a good part of that real estate on that screen. So when we talk about pay-per-click, that's really the first platform that comes to mind is that pay-per-click model. And as I mentioned, Google holds a significant share of that market, and they are the go-to platform. They own about 80 to 90% of the US market. Other platforms include Yahoo, Bing, but that's pretty much a secondary market in our opinion. Now, Google's primary tool for PPC is that feature, which is Google Ads. It really allows you as a business to create ads that appear on the search engines and potentially other Google properties that are out there or where is partnering with Google. And you'll sometimes see these ads that are out and about. They'll serve those ads in it. But what we're talking about today here is really to focus in on that search result page because it's really about that user intent. When I'm going to Google, when you're going to Google, you're doing a search, right? You have a query or a question. You have a need. And if you can get an ad that answers that need, you might just end up clicking on it. So in terms of that click-through rate, if so I did a search for, let's say, personal injury attorney near me, about 30% of that click volume is going to go to the ads. And about 70% is going to go somewhere else within that organic listing. Now, there's several advantages to you using Google PPC. Now, first is it does offer that visibility and that traffic. So as I talked about, you have the opportunity to show up when you want, where you want. Now, while organic search engine optimization, which is showing up in that organic section, as Lindsay was sharing, it's kind of difficult when there's so many competing places between directories and other websites. That can take months to show those results. Here you have the opportunity to potentially show up more immediately and get results a little bit quicker. Additionally, with pay-per-click, you have much more control. You can decide what keywords you want to show up for. Maybe it's a specific injury or maybe it's only divorce. You can show up for, how much you're willing to bid on it. I'm only willing to bid maybe $10 a click or $15 a click or maybe 100 or more. And you can show up where and when you're at. So I only want to show up maybe in and around 20 miles around my city, or maybe I only want to show up in a certain part of my city. And maybe I only want to show up between 9 and 5 during the day. So you have much more control of when those keywords show up and when those ads appear. On top of that, one of the standout features and what really helped Google kind of dominate this market are those tracking abilities. You have the ability to really understand what is working, and coupled with some demographic data like location, age, gender, what device they're using. And it allows Google to really create a customized ad or a customized experience, because in terms of when those ads are shown, to provide the most relevant audience at the right time, increasing the chances of conversion. And over time, Google has developed, no surprise, buzzword of the day, AI and machine learning to deliver those ads at the most opportune time to users who have the most opportune ability to click and hopefully pick up the phone and contact you. Another advantage really is that pay-per-click is measurable. As I mentioned, you have the ability to track the clicks. You have the ability to potentially track the conversions and the ROI, and we'll get into more details on that later. And with that, you have the ability to work extremely well. And that moves us into the next slide, which is Google local service ads. Maybe by a virtual show of hands, if possible, or in chat, how many of you have seen these local service ads or something very similar to what we're seeing here? I'll give you a second to respond in chat. Just a simple yes or no. Looks like we got a couple. Excellent. We're rolling in. Cool. Absolutely. These have definitely taken over the search real estate, as we like to call it in digital marketing, that SERP page, search engine result page. The reason being is they tend to work. These are a newer form. These are designed for really service-oriented professions, just like your attorneys and law firms. They're designed for people who are looking for immediate vicinity, in the immediate vicinity of where they're looking for. And because you've probably seen them at the top, they tend to show up above the Google search ads. And we can see that here in this screenshot. We can see that we have the sponsored ads. Right below that, we have the traditional pay-per-click ads. They're just creeping up above it. So Google's doing whatever it can to get those to show up. A difference with these, you're not paying per click, you're really paying per contact. It's a cost per lead model. Google is setting kind of what that initial cost per lead is, then you have some ability to bid a little bit more or around that amount. You don't have the ability to really dictate as much granularity as you do with a pay-per-click model for certain keywords or certain negatives, as we call. I don't want to show up for certain things, or you don't have a lot of say in terms of the ad itself or the landing page and where it goes. These are really formulaic and stock to a certain extent. And they also tie in with your Google business profile, which is incredibly important. We can see that here with those star ratings that are here. You have 142 for Canon and 28 for Whitmire. So those are one of the main changes or big differences when it comes to the PPC with these LSAs, is it really is a pay per lead model. Those phone calls are going to be recorded. That is a Google sponsored phone number. Most of them are going to be calls. They are also going to give an option to fill out a form. So it is something you need to be aware of, that they are going to be called or recorded. To participate in these LSAs, attorneys really need to undergo a stringent verification process, just like anything else. And that's because of that Google screen badge that we're seeing right underneath, sponsored, above that first image of that attorney there. And because of that, you have to go through a license verification, background checks, proof of insurance, and it takes a little bit of time. It's not just a simple switch. It takes about a week to go through that process, and you'll get that Google screen badge, which can help boost some trust among potential clients. And I think that's it for that slide. Let's move on to the next one and talk about kind of the differences. And as I've gone over a few of them, I just want to make sure that we're all aware of kind of what it is. So to make an informed decision in terms of digital advertising, it's really important to understand the differences between these two, whether it's a Google local service ad or a pay-per-click ad. Now, at the core of their differences, it's really the payment model. With local service ads, you're paying for every lead, meaning that it's every phone call or direct inquiry that you receive. Whereas with pay-per-click, you're paying for every time somebody clicks on your ad. Doesn't matter whether they pick up the phone or send you a contact, it really is going to be that click. So the pricing model is quite different. Now, when it comes to visibility, the LSAs will always appear above the traditional PPC, but Google doesn't always show those ads. So it's kind of hem and haw in terms of when they show up. So they do get that prime real estate. They can also sometimes appear as you scroll down. You'll see them show up below it. Now, pay-per-click requires a much more strategic approach to keyword bidding. I like to think of it like day trading. If anybody's ever really gone in and managed any stock accounts or, at a Robinhood account or anything like that, you're really going in there and tweaking and having the ability to update. So it requires much more fine-tuning, management of your own time or somebody else's time to get the most out of it. But you have the opportunity to get a lot more opportunity to show up for a lot more things. Whereas with the Google local service ads, you're dependent upon how Google is setting that criteria. It's saying, well, these keywords are related for this practice area, so I'm going to show up just for those practice areas. You can turn on and off some sub-practice areas or categories or topics, as they call them, but you don't have as much control with LSAs as you do with pay-per-click. So if you're looking for more of that hands-off approach, those local service ads are probably going to be a little bit more appealing to you. Now, local service ads are also optimized or picked or ranked by Google based on several factors. That includes your business reviews. So if you don't have a strong Google business profile, that local listing, you might not show up really well, and the competition can be tough. Additionally, it's how fast you respond to the contacts. Since Google sees those contacts come in and how you're updating the portal that Google provides you with, are you providing feedback? And also, are you taking on as many as you possibly can? So it really goes through that process of Google's providing it. Are you willing to accept it? Because at the end of the day, Google wants to spend money and they want you to make money. Now with pay-per-click ads, there's a lot to go into it, and it really revolves around what's called a quality score. There's several factors that impact your quality score: how targeted your ad is, how targeted your landing page is, click-through rate of your ads, things like that. So you need to monitor and manage those things. And because you have the ability to do so with a pay-per-click ad, you're afforded that opportunity to do so, but you're not able to do that with a local service ad. And with a high quality score, you get a little bit of break. It's a rank between 1 to 10. If you get a low quality score, like 3 and below, Google won't show your ads. So whether you're Elon Musk or Bill Gates, doesn't matter how much money you have, they'll just say, you know what, I'm not going to show your ad because it's a poor user experience. To have an ad for, let's say, child custody when you're bidding on a personal injury keyword or whatever the case is. So it really comes down to a crucial decision is really in that lead gen. With LSAs, you're essentially paying for potential business opportunities. As we all know, you've been running your law firms for quite some time. Not everybody who calls you has a case, and not everybody who has a case is someone you can actually help for various reasons. So not all contacts will lead to great business. Same with PPC. It's a little bit higher up that funnel, right? You're paying for a click, you're optimizing it to get them to contact you, and then you're able to get that. So it comes down to where you're at and how much time you have to manage those. So both LSAs and PPC ads can complement and coexist. So it's not an either or. We have a lot of clients see a lot of success managing and working both of them. Because as I mentioned briefly, sometimes those local service ads aren't going to show up. Google just decides to show a traditional pay-per-click ad and vice versa. Also, additionally, there's only 3 ads that can show up at the top for those local service ads. And for whatever reason, Google might say, I'm not going to show your local service ads at the time. So when it comes to consistency of those leads and contacts coming in, and for more variety, if you want more niche keywords or targeting and so forth, having both really does complement one another quite well. You can move on to the next slide, please.
Well, that was a great overview of the.
Sorry, I was just gonna add one other thing.
Go for it.
So for LSA, I think one thing that is a huge differentiator from other advertising strategies or advertising types is you can actually dispute a lead. So with LSA, you're bringing in, so LSA, when you're setting up these ads, you're giving specific criteria. You get to choose your practice area. You get to choose the legal services you offer. So if you're a family lawyer, you could say divorce. You could say a bunch of other legal services. And then you're also giving the geographic location that you want that ad to be served within. If someone were to come in and they aren't looking for services within any of the legal services you're looking for, or the practice area, they're not in the geo, you can actually go to Google and dispute it and get the money back. So that's one thing I haven't really seen and I'm a marketer, and any other places of marketing is really being able to dispute a lead and get that money back. So I think that is one of the, probably one of the top benefits of it too, just for smaller firms who really potentially have a smaller budget. They're trying to really let that budget stretch. So just wanted to call that out as well.
No, that's a great point, Liz. And that really comes down to managing the campaigns as well. Because it does require, nothing's 100% hands off, and we'll get into some more ways of handling that. But you're right. going through and making sure the opportunity to dispute that lead is critical, because time is money, and whether it's the wrong practice theory or somebody, maybe it was a vendor that called you, or it was somebody who called you 3 times, you got triple billed for it, whatever the case is, going through and disputing that lead is something that is afforded to you in Google local service ads and not pay-per-click.
Yeah, 100%. And I was going to mention too, we do have a lot of customers that have Clio customers that are using LSA. And I think like one thing that they've mentioned consistently is they actually haven't had to dispute that many leads. Just based on how the ad is being served, you're really showing someone's searching your legal services within a certain area. I've found a lot of customers have given feedback that they've had to dispute some, but it's not many in the context of how many leads they're actually driving from LSA. So I thought that would be interesting. There's interesting. I'm so excited about the subject. I just tripping over words. Interesting thing to mention. Okay, I'll hand it back to you, Lindsay.
No, it's great. There's actually some tips and tricks and some interesting ways to get more stuff out of it, which isn't quite for this call, but there's ways to get more from your LSA ads if you're open to it. But yeah, we can always have deeper discussions on that.
Yeah, for sure. If there's any questions too around any of the content we've already talked about, or questions that are just please put them in the chat, put them in the Q&A. Like I said, we have time to answer all this at the end. And I know we're kind of doing a bit of a deep dive here. So literally every question is golden. Let us know if you're wondering anything. Okay, I'll hand it to you, Lindsay.
Yeah, and something, you know, that most firms come to us with is, okay, PPC, LSA, SEO, SEM, what does all this mean? And just what should we be doing, you know, for lead generation for our firm? And it's not a one size fits all, you know, recipe for each firm. There's lots of things to take into consideration. Like, you know, what is your budget? What are the firm's goals, your target audience? What's your practice area? What geography are you in? To really kind of break down what, you know, the recommendations are for each individual firm. I like to see in, you know, for, you know, personal injury in a larger metro, I think a mixture of all 3 is like the perfect recipe. But in some smaller metros, or smaller cities, you know, you can get away with just doing LSA, and be really successful. So I'm just going to kind of dive into the importance of like how you can set these things up. And then, I think it's really important to note like that Clio Grow has this awesome platform that can help you manage them. So we'll just kind of go over how you can set it up and then hand it over to Clio to go through that. So if you want to just skip to 18. Yeah. Okay. So the first step, like Adam mentioned, is for local service ads, you do have to have a Google business profile. Used to be referred to as Google My Business. It's now Google Business Profile. And so we did include the steps to set that up. I believe Liz will be sending out a handout that easily walks you through the process as well. But you go to google.com/business and then click the Manage Now located in the top right-hand corner. And then you can click Add Business, and that's where you enter all of your business information. And you want to make sure that how you enter the name, address, and phone number is exactly how you have it everywhere else online, down to the comma, or spelling out suite. If it's spelled out suite everywhere else, it's super important when setting this up that you set it up consistently with everything else that you have online. And then you just follow, you know, the rest of these steps, which basically detail all your business information, the category, the contact details. Do you want a visible address, or you know, is it a remote business? Because you can, if you do have work remotely, you can just set it up so that your address isn't visible. A mailing address, business description is really important. And I find a lot of firms that we start working with, they don't have a business description at all. It just says like law firm. So it's like, what do you practice? What are your, you know, what sets you apart? Like having a really nice business description goes a long way. Adding your office hours, again, consistency here. If your hours are different than your website, Google will get confused. Adding photos is a big one, and continuing to add photos and keeping those updated is super important. And then adding your services and the advertising option also. And then another thing to remember to do consistently with your Google My Business, once it's all set up and verified, is to make sure that you're posting to your Google My Business at least weekly. That will really help with your visibility in the local map section in that 3-pack, we call it. Is if you're posting to it, Google likes when you use their products. So if you're getting reviews to it, you're posting to it, you're keeping your information updated. It sends really good signals to Google that you're a valid business, that you're authoritative in the space, and they'll show you more often. So if you want to go to the next slide.
Sorry. Oh,
Go ahead.
this one?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I thought you were asking a question. Okay. So step 2, with, setting up your LSA ads is, you do need to get 5 Google Business Profile reviews, of 3.0 or higher. So we just showed you kind of where those reviews are located. And then when you click on reviews, you can get your review link, which I circled on the left-hand side. You can easily send that to, the 5 clients to get those reviews. It can be, clients, people you've worked with, employees, that preferably clients that have worked with you and have something good to say about their service. But the reviews are the #1 most important aspect of your Google Business Profile and your LSA ads because they're connected.
Oh, sorry.
And then, so how brings us to how to create your LSA account?
Sorry, I was gonna cut in for a second.
Yeah.
I think they might have changed the rules. So it's you need 5 reviews for a PI firm, and you actually only need 1 for any other practice area.
Oh.
Yeah, so 5 for PI, 1 for any other practice area. So get that 1 review, everybody.
Yeah.
Also,
And really, you do want to get reviews and keep them coming on a consistent basis. Set something up internally with the firm to make sure that you're getting, reviews on a weekly or monthly basis, to make sure that this, stays relevant.
I think
Yeah, and if you're not sure how many reviews to get, take a look in your area, right? Do a search around, see what your competitors have, right? Down the street, up the road kind of thing. How many do they have? Because that'll give you an idea of kind of what level of reviews you should be aiming for. Because you're being evaluated the same way that that your competitors are. So if you have 1 review and somebody else has 100, well, that can say a lot in terms of kind of as a consumer who I might go with. But don't be overwhelmed. You always got to start somewhere.
Yeah, you always have to start somewhere. And we do know customers, like Clio customers, what they often do is they'll have kind of like an exit email where they just have to put that review link in there. You can just hyperlink it in there and just be sending that to, all of the cases that you're closing. Also, it's never too late to ask for a review. You can go back to those that, had like a really good experience with you up to like even like a year ago and ask them, would you mind, filling this out? It would really help my firm. And if you wouldn't mind just taking a couple minutes, it's a great practice. Get into the habit of, putting into some sort of templated email and always sending that after a case or a matter is closed.
Yeah. And people are so used to getting review requests these days. I mean, you go anywhere and you leave the place and you're getting a text message to review, the service. So people are used to it. They're willing to do it. You just have to ask.
Yeah. We also have, it was kind of a cool story, but one of our Clio customers was able to really build up her review, I guess like database by actually establishing at the start of the relationship with the client that they were going to ask for a 5-star review at the end of this, and they were going to make sure that the service that they're going to provide them was going to ensure that was going to be the rating that basically they would get at the end. But just even at the start saying, I'm going to be asking for a review at the end of this. I'm going to make sure that all the service is going to be aligned with a 5-star, and just establish that early on. And then, like I said, close that loop at the end when you're done that matter. Awesome. Okay, we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, and then finally, just just leads us to how to actually create the ad account for local service ads. And you start by navigating to the official Google Local Service Ads homepage. I find it easier if my clients are on Chrome and they just go to ads.google.com/local services, because then they're already logged into their Google My Business and that specific Gmail. This will be your primary portal for everything related to LSAs, or Clio Grow as well has a really easy to use platform. But on the LSA homepage, you'll see a Get Started button, and clicking on this will initiate the setup process. You'll then be prompted to select the category that best describes your business. For instance, if you're an attorney, you'll select a relevant legal category, like family law, personal injury, criminal, and this ensures your ad reaches the right audience. Next, you'll define the geographic areas you serve, and this can be a specific city, multiple cities, or a broader region. If you already have a Google ad account, you'll be asked to associate it with your LSAs. So back to being on the Chrome browser, it's easier, but you're going to want to associate it with the Gmail account that your Google business profile is under. If you don't have one, you'll need to create it, and this account will be used to manage your LSA campaign and your Google My Business, Google Business profile. So to maintain the authority and trustworthiness of LSAs, Google requires a business to undergo the verification process, which Adam went into sort of that process and how they verify you. It involves like license checks, background checks. I know you have to upload your bar card and your malpractice insurance, all of that information. And then the next step is they'll ask you to determine how much you want to spend on your LSA campaign. Google provides, estimates on these, the leads based on your budget and your geography. And this can help with like forecasting your potential returns. But if you say Google recommends you spend $500 a week, that doesn't mean the whole budget is going to get used by any means. A lot of times you have to go into, Clio Grow or wherever you manage your ads and, play with the geo, play with the terms you want to show up with or for to get, the leads to start flowing. And one thing, once they are live, don't be concerned if week one you're not seeing anything. It usually takes a little bit for Google to, recognize that your ads are there and to start placing them. So just important before finalizing everything, just make sure you review the information you've entered, ensure it's accurate and complete. And then once satisfied, you'll submit the details to LSA to Google, and it usually takes, I've seen anywhere between like 3 to 10 days for Google to verify your account. But I know in Google, in Clio Grow, they make that process easier. So with that being said, I'll hand it over to Demetra to kind of go through the Clio Grow and local service ads.
Yeah, Lindsay, thanks so much. So in and around a month ago, we launched Google Local Service Ads for Clio. And it's the first of its kind fully integrated Google marketing solution in the legal industry. So as Lindsay mentioned, there's quite a few steps within the process to get Google screened. So Google Screened gives you eligibility to serve those Google Local Service Ads. So I'm going to kind of run through a very quick high-level walkthrough of how you would go about getting Google Screened, and then what it would look like managing the leads that come from this ad product. But before I kind of get into that, I really like this story, or one of the customers that we helped build their law firm. This is Joe Runkle. He is an attorney, a solo attorney from Rockland, California. He moved there, knew no one, had no network, and essentially he built his law firm into a thriving business using a combination of Clio and Google Local Services. So it shows you don't have to be a marketing expert to absolutely crush it like he did. So with that said, one of this specific the access to the specific Google local service ads ad product, Liz, you can go to the next screen if you'd like, is offered within or for Clio Grow subscribers. And we make it super easy to flow through that application. You would go into your Clio Grow account, and then all the information, which is a combination of articles and videos, really help build context and understanding of what the ad product is. And then once you have your ads launched, what kind of optimizations and things you could do to your account to really maximize your presence. The beauty about this product is it's pay-per-lead, so extremely low risk. And as Liz mentioned, you also have the availability to dispute the leads. So once you get started with the application, you're going to be flowed through a number of different screens and prompted to provide certain information. And as Lindsay mentioned, if you're required to submit an insurance document, you're going to be prompted to upload that. Your license. Google wants to ensure that you're an active, healthy, good standing law firm. So once that verification process is done, it's going to take about 7 to 14 days to get verified. And then now you have submitted your application, you're Google approved, you're going to input your billing, you're going to input your budget, and then you're ready to roll. So next slide, please. So once you've submitted that and everything's activated, the leads that come through are going to look a little something like this. If you don't mind, advance to the next slide as well. So the leads will come into your inbox amongst the other leads that also you'll be generating. And the beauty of this is it gives you all the details. So it'll tell you where it came from, where the lead came from in terms of geography. You'll also have the availability to listen to the call. And listening to calls is not only kind of beneficial to see the quality of this specific ad product, but you can identify different holes within your intake cycle. Once you've identified them, you can put together a plan to remedy any kind of holes you have in that. So automatically your intake will be a better, you'll have a better intake process, which oftentimes means more retained and hired clients. Also, this will also deep link into the LSA dashboard for the leads to show up. And then as Liz mentioned, if the lead is outside of your geography, practice area, spam, you do have the availability to dispute that lead. Google reviews it, and then you get credited that amount if it adheres to their requirements. But most importantly, the lead comes in sourced. So once that lead is sourced, it'll allow you to review a reporting dashboard, which we also newly launched. And if you advance to the next screen, Liz, it shows you the number of leads, your ad spend. So the leads that have come in that are sourced to this specific ad product, they'll give you reporting metrics on. And really this is to preview to you what your return on your investment and what is your return on your ad spend. And once you have an idea of that, you can evaluate the success and the performance of this specific ad product. Just for all of those that are looking to get started, again, you have to be a Clio Grow subscriber. New customers, we do have a promotion where new customers get a $500 ad spend match coupon. So if you start your application and your account with us, you spend $500 and we give you $500. So that's kind of a high level view of what this product looks like in Clio Grow. So now I'm going to pass it on to Lindsay to kind of go over some of the benefits, or rather the most attractive aspects of local service ads.
Yeah, and so we have put together just 5 tips to keep in mind, while managing your local service ads for success. And a couple of them we've already discussed, but expanding your geography in the LSA portal can really help kind of expand the area that you, the population that you're targeting. So if you're finding, you're just targeted on one, small area surrounding your office building, but you wouldn't mind traveling a little bit further to get leads, sometimes expanding that geography will really help just kind of get the leads to start flowing. And I find this a lot of times when our clients are saying, oh, well, we're really just not getting any leads, like nothing is happening inside our LSA account. Well, sometimes just expanding the geography can really help with that. Soliciting from reviews from clients, again, we can, if you take one thing from today, it's get a GMB account, set up your LSAs, and get reviews. So I guess that's 3 things. But maximize your budget also is really important. Again, if you set this all up and you're not seeing a flow of new leads, make sure you maximize that geography and that budget. And like I've said before, say your budget is 500 per week, that's Google's recommendation, and you're not seeing a return up that, it doesn't mean that Google's going to send or use all of that budget. It just means that your ad could be displayed more. Also adding new service options can help your ad be displayed more. And then, like Adam had mentioned before, just make sure you're responsive with the leads. Google really likes when you manage those leads, when you respond to them, when you reject them, however you're interacting with the interface, they like that you're super responsive with the leads. So and then Adam, I'm gonna have you cover the tracking the return on investment of all of this.
Awesome. Thank you. Perfect. All right. I'm not going to dive in too hard into this, but I do want to say that as you saw kind of with Clio's integration, it makes it a lot simpler, right? It's all in one place. You can connect all the dots and you can kind of see what that ROI is for what you're spending versus what you're getting. And you really want to make sure, because we all don't have infinite sums of money, that you're making money off of these investments. And having the ability to track this allows you to make sure A, you're making money, and B, allows you to make tweaks and changes over time. Just like Lindsay was mentioning, maybe a certain geography isn't, working for you. Maybe, when you listen to those phone calls, you identify a gap in your intake process. Maybe you're using a answering service to answer some of those calls and they're not doing a great job. Whatever the case is, you have the ability with all these things in front of you to track it. I know we're all busy. Sometimes it's good to have a third party or have somebody else do it for you to track it. But having a pulse on what's going and what's working really allows you to ensure that you are getting the most you possibly can off of it. Now, you might find some insights into what demographics are working if you're working from a pay-per-click standpoint, or you're noticing, I'm only getting men that are calling my ads. Why am I not getting any women? Whatever the case is, these are the types of things that can help lead to and beg some questions to figure out, are you going the direction that you want, or do I need to make changes to those campaigns? It also allows you to say, should I invest more in certain campaigns, or should I invest less in others? And with those, you're able to get, those quantifiable results to really demonstrate the effectiveness, whether it's you yourself running the firm or you're reporting to somebody who is, paying for it. It also allows you to avoid that black hole syndrome, which is, I don't know what's working. All I know is it might be working and I don't really know what is. So having the ability to track these things as closely as possible is critical. And we can move on to the next one because I know we're coming up on time here really quick. These are just some jargony terms. It really is an ROAS, which is a return on advertising spend, which is different than a CPL. As we mentioned, local service ads works on a cost per lead. And as I touched on, not every lead is going to be something you can bill. It's not going to be a matter that you can make money on. So it really comes down to figuring out how to calculate that. So when you're looking at cost per lead, it's really about acquiring that single lead specific to an advertising campaign. So if you're spent $100 on an ad and you got 10 leads, well, your cost per lead would be $10. Well, your ROAS, or return on advertising spend, really focuses on revenue. CPL is all about that lead generation. They all work in hand to hand. So while they're both crucial metrics, they serve different purposes. So I like to think of return on advertising spend is more about understanding profitability, while cost per lead is about gauging the efficiency of that lead generation. So depending on your business goals, whether it's immediate sales or building a client base, you really want to prioritize potentially one over the other. Now I'm going to hand it back to Dimitri to kind of
I'm just gonna step in.
almost go for it.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to put this slide in here and just really help everyone understand, because in terms of marketing and looking at how marketing is working, you could have a low cost per lead, but if all those leads aren't converting into business, you're going to have a really high marketing spend for the actual business that you're driving. So when you're really looking at evaluating this holistically, you really do need to look at what is it that you're spending, what is the business that you're driving from that, because just getting a low cost per lead in itself could mean that like what you're doing as a campaign actually is working, because those leads just aren't converting into what business is. So you're spending money on things that aren't bringing in, those new dollars. So just want to make sure that was this just understood, because we did have some confusion with some customers on why they had a lower cost per lead, but really when they looked at the return on what they were spending, they actually weren't getting a great return on the business that was coming through as new business. Awesome. I will pass it over to Demetra. Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a perfect segue. So the new reporting dashboard that was recently launched, it provides you not only a view into how your local services are doing, but any other channel. So at the very top navigation, you have all channels and then local service ads. So the all channels will give you the availability to select any of the sources that you have leads coming from. And as Liz said, you want to look at these leads up, not necessarily what is the cost per lead, but you want to see, okay, I've spent this much. This is how many leads I've gotten. This is the estimated value. This is the number of leads, or rather, this is the revenue generated from the hired leads that have come through. And that will give you an understanding of what your return on investment is. Another kind of benefit of this dashboard is it'll also prompt you to take action and make recommendations so that you're using Clio Grow and your whole intake process can be elevated. It kind of also is a segue. I read a question from one of our attendees, and he or she speaks about, he, she, or they speaks about if they have an existing local service ads account and it's performing really well, why would we have to integrate it? Well, one of the beauties about having this kind of centralized CRM is you'll have all your leads inside one kind of platform. And also those leads will be attributed to a source, so that when you're circling back to reporting and when you're evaluating all the different marketing products that you're investing in, or if you're only investing in local service ads, you have a very clear visibility of this is how much I'm spending, this is what I'm getting out of it. So that's also kind of an added benefit, and no, it wouldn't you wouldn't have any kind of negative effect linking your account, because all it is it's linking your existing account to your Clio account. So by linking that, we can feed the leads through, and now you have visibility into the leads, so you can triage them, manage them, as well as it'll also surface on your reporting.
Awesome. So I know there was a lot. We dug deep into a couple different areas there. We are going to head over to QA. I just have a couple last things that we have to go over. So if you'd like to learn any more about LSA, we do have some really informative blogs. We had an on-demand webinar that we hosted last month that really dug into local services ads, how they work for law firms. And then, like Lindsay said, we are going to be supplying the audience with their handouts for how to set up your Google business profile, local service ads accounts, how to do your local service ads budget. There's a bunch of really great things in there. I will link those in the appendix of these slides that will also go out tomorrow with the recording. As Dimitra had mentioned, we do have a really great promo. If you're new to local services ads and you want to sign up, if you sign up with Clio Grow, like she said, you will get $500 matched ad spend. So you spend $500, we give you back $500 in the ad spend. So it's about $1,000 that you can spend on new leads. Now, if you do want to learn more about Clio Grow, I'm just going to pop a poll up just so that I can let our team know to reach out. If there's anything that you want to learn more about, they can show you what this looks like specifically for your firm, or literally answer any questions you may have. I'll always leave that up for about 30 seconds, see if there's any interest. If you're not interested or you already have Clio Grow, you don't have to fill out the poll. It's just if you'd like to learn more. And then they can also go through that interesting $500 ad spend, matched ad spend credit that you can get by setting up local service ads within Clio Grow. All right, perfect. I will end the poll there. Perfect. And then wanted to put this up as well. So thank you so much to Above the Bar Marketing who joined us today. So they are, like we said, a legal marketing consultant firm. If you'd like to get a free consultation, if you'd like to speak to them about LSA, yeah, please fill out this poll, or you can scan the QR code to book a session with them. Leave that up for another 30 seconds. Awesome. Okay, we'll close it out and then we'll get into some Q&A. Actually, we'll skip this one. Okay, so we do have some really good questions around Q&A, so I'm just going to get right into it. So we have one moment here. All right, so we have a question around one of our attendees seeing a sudden increase in bogus or scam inquiries after claiming their identity on a particular legal directory. So Adam or Lindsay, they're fearful of claiming others. Have you heard of this being a problem in the past? And I'll just let you get your, oh, there we go.
It depends, I guess, on the directory and the circumstances. I haven't seen a whole lot of that, but every directory, every type of lead gen is going to bring you some form of spam or junk. Typically, it's unavoidable. It probably is more with the legal directories. But Adam, do you want to dive into that a little bit more?
Yeah, it can depend. I mean, I get bogus stuff for all kinds of stuff, you know, so it's challenging. One of the things that we help our clients with is really sometimes creating unique phone numbers or call tracking. If it's coming through via phone, you can set some phone numbers up to really make sure that what source it's coming from. Because if it is garbage from that source, well, then you can really evaluate it effectively. But there are some pros and cons. First, you really want to make sure your information is correct across the board, because Google's looking at it, potentially some third parties and individuals are as well, because it's impacting your Google local listing as well as your listing itself, because that could be a link back to your website. So from an optimization standpoint, it could have some secondary benefits instead of the direct benefits outside of being a topical directory such as Avo or FindLaw or you know, Justia and things like that. So you got to weigh it pros and cons across the board. But I would say I would still do it. Take a look at the ones that are quality sites, the ones that we had listed here. Do a search in your area. What's showing up? What directories are showing up for your practice area in your geography? And use that as kind of your initial post or initial kind of source of truth, if you will.
Love that answer. So I have a question from another attendee. So if there are 60 attorneys using LSA in an area, how does the ranking system work for Google? If attorneys are responding fast, say they have equal reviews, is there another secret that Google is using to know which attorneys to show in LSA? Dimitra, do you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, sure. So as touched on, there's kind of like 3 R's. So there's rank, responsiveness, and reviews. So you want to get as many reviews as you can. And also, let me also preface by saying that Google has never said in any of their search engines, this is how we rank. So there's no SEO LSA, Google, they never kind of want to give out their secrets. However, we can draw inferences. So these are kind of like inferences the industry has taken. And you want to get as many reviews as you can. You want to put your budget, you want to put that budget ceiling as high as you can. And you want to be responsive. So if you get a phone call that's coming through, don't let it go to an IVR like you've reached Demetria's law firm, press 1 for sales, 2 for blah, blah, blah. You want to have a live agent actually picking up that call. And if you have that connection, Google will recognize that and will rank you higher. Also, the proximity of the user that's searching for your service, how close they are to your business address, will also play a role in where they see you within that within the LSA directory.
Awesome. Sorry. So for smaller firm just getting rolling and not ready to pay for ads yet, could you explain how Google tags work, or perhaps other methods to get the firm's website toward the top of the organic Google search results? I'll let anyone take the floor. I think there's a couple tips and tricks that we had within the presentation that we can revisit.
I think the one that Lindsay really, kind of hammered home there is your Google business profile. It is a free listing. Make sure that you max that out, everything that you possibly can with it. Claim it, add pictures, add video, link your social profiles, add content to it, make sure everything's correct around with it, and get reviews built to it. It is a free platform. All it costs is your time. And as an attorney, your time's not cheap, but it's cheaper than maybe spending, $1,000 a month or more on those ads. But you still need to have that solid ground taken care of. And when it comes to that, the next really is building content to your website, really strong authoritative content. Now, after that, it's building links to your websites. So it's all about networking in Google's world. So those networks are referred to as links, and it really is important to get good quality links and good solid content to your website, and making sure you show up in all the right places at the right time. Kind of things we talked about, which would be the next steps, those paid steps. You have those ads at the top for local service ads, you have pay-per-click ads. You can also run ads in Google Maps. That's where your Google business profile can show up, in the directories and the right places for that. And it's all a snowball effect, right? As you build up, be in all the right places at the right time. And at the end of the day, evaluate it. How is it all working together?
Yeah, and just to chime in there, I mean, search engine optimization is something we could have another hour-long discussion on.
Only an hour?
One more, I'm sure, for you. But like Adam said, Google My Business or Google Business Profile, reviews, and then claim any of those free directory listings that you can. Those are great for search engine optimization, reputation management, and you will get leads from the free ones as well. I know Avo, FindLaw, Justia, those are the 3 that I know that offer the free listings. So at least those 3, check them out. LinkedIn, make sure you claim, optimize, and post there. That's another huge opportunity just to build that referral network as well.
Awesome advice. So just claim all of the listings is like,
claim it all.
Claim all the listings, make sure that
and make sure all the information is consistent. Don't forget that part.
Exactly. Here's a good one. So if Google is rewarding reviews, does that mean if we don't have the same amount as competitors, then this is useless? As an LSA, I believe the context would be. So I think, Demetria, you had just touched on that there's those 3 R's. There's other factors that are being related to that. So it's not just the number of reviews, it's your responsiveness and your location, how close you are really to the person who's searching. What else do we have here? Actually, here's a good one.
Just to add to that, it's not, I've been looking at a lot of ads and I do a lot of searches. You'll see things pop up from time to time, and it's not, as a consumer, I may not want to work with the firm that I know has been running for, statewide advertising and has 1,000 reviews, because I might feel like I'm treated like a number, and I want to work with somebody who's a little bit smaller and boutique, right? Google understands that too. So on top of that, it's pay for performance. You're only going to pay for the lead. So put it out there, right? It's not necessarily useless. You just might not get the same volume. That's all.
Yeah, 100%. I think honestly, from an LSA perspective, it's almost like risk-free in a way, in the fact that you can really dispute leads that aren't a fit. I again don't know any other marketing channel where that's really the case. So like I said, it's almost risk-free. Here's a good one. So how or when do you know when to run both PPC and LSAs simultaneously? Who would like to take that one?
The
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
do you want me to? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
The when is whenever you're ready to put that investment in. I think the biggest mistake that some firms make is, you know, they want to do all these things, but they don't put enough budget into any of them, so they all fail. So whenever you are ready to invest at like a recommended budget to make it worth it, to make the return on investment, you know, where it needs to be for the firm, that's when I would start doing both. If you're just starting off, LSAs is a really great option because they're easy to set up, they're easy to manage. But once you want some more strategy into your campaigns online, adding that PPC element will really hit a lot of areas that LSA won't. Does that help?
Yeah, that was great. Adam, do you have anything to add, or Lindsay nail it?
No, I think that pretty much is about it. It really is when you're ready. I like to think of it like if you go play poker, you want to have a big enough pot, right? Big enough,
Yep.
money to work with. Otherwise, you're gonna have a poor time at the table. So you really have to, be ready for it and make sure you have the ducks in a row. What happens if you get an additional, 10, 15, 20 calls a day? Are you able to handle that? Is your intake process set up, right? So think of the logistics of it as well. How much additional business can you handle if you were presented with that option?
Yeah. And I think the great thing about LS too that a lot of customers love is they can really turn it off whenever they want to. So if you just don't have the capacity, you can just turn it off. It will stop leads from coming your way. And then if you're seeing a dip in business or you need to like make up for something in the time of the month, you can just turn it back on. It's super, super simple.
Yeah, I've worked with quite a few solo firms that have said, you know what, I'm gonna turn it off right now because I want to go on vacation. Okay. They do it, right? Or you have an attorney out for maternity leave or something, right? Fine. You can kind of ebb and flow. It's kind of nice.
Yeah. It's a great lever to have, like you said, to ebb and flow and kind of create less of those dips in incoming revenue. So I know we're over. This was a really great discussion. Thank you so much, Above the Bar Marketing, for joining us. Lindsay, Adam, really appreciate it.
It was a pleasure.
And Demetra. Okay, everyone have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.